All right, y'all. Today we're looking at this boudoir photography business. We're going to see if it's local search or if its city search has BSS. Also see if it's hitting the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 slots, page 1 on Google. Nice. And we're back here in the GBC universe. We're taking declining boudoir photographers to the #1 boudoir photographer in their city. Our North Star weapon of choice is FSIC, full spectrum intent capture. More info on that, pin video, home video, somewhere around here. And that's because FSIC explains why all boudoir photographers either rise or fall. So we got our FSIC graph actually in white here. Highest intent people on the left, these people using social search, Google search, they're searching for a boudoir photo shoot in their city right now. Focused on talking about these peeps. When we're talking about BSS videos here. Way over on the right, these are the lowest intent peeps. They ain't searching for boudoir, and they basically have no idea what the heck boudoir even is. Talk about that on our sister brand, Boudoir FB Ad Doctor. And right now we're only working with boudoir photographers spending more than 10 grand a month in boudoir Facebook ads. Now, boudoir search sameness BSS is when a boudoir photographer has either 0 or 1 slots on page 1 on Google. 0 slots is bad because that means 0 slots page 1 means we're on page 2 or deeper, and we already know approximately 80% of Google searches never even hit page 2. So we're invisible to approximately 80% of the market. And this is a recipe for our business to be dying super fast. And if we got 1 slot on page 1, that ain't good either. But it's not good enough because, there's 10 organic slots page 1 on Google. We got 1 slot that says there's 9 other boudoir photographers. Everyone's got 1 slot. Everyone looks the same. Nobody's standing out. So what's a buyer doing? They're clicking down everyone's website, opening up everyone's, contact form, filling out every contact form, getting a quote from everyone, getting, price shopping and the best deal for them, wasting everyone's time, blah, 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 blah. So we never want to have BSS boudoir search sameness. In both scenarios, yeah, we'll get contact forms if we got 1 slot, but like most of those people ain't going with us. It's only a 10% chance to go with us. So, just kind of real frustrating. That leads to the business dying as well. Now, 0-1 slots on page 1 Google search is actually not normal. It's actually the symptom of 2 deeper root causes. Those 2 deeper root causes are A, market saturation. Basically everyone knows what that is. Simply more boudoir photographers entering the market over time. And when that happens, people getting new iPhones or new cameras, they enter the marketplace. They're throwing up their Google Maps profile saying they do boudoir photography. They're throwing up their website saying they're now a boudoir photographer. They're posting them on mom groups on Facebook saying they do boudoir photo shoots. And that's more sellers for the same number of buyers. Makes it harder and harder for every seller to make a sale and kind of get those clients. Also happened in a big way with COVID. A lot of people lost their jobs, forced a lot of people. Well, they still need to earn money. They still got to go get money. And so everyone's got a superpowered smartphone with ultra camera. So easiest thing for them to do, become boudoir photographers. Now, the false face belief of page 1 inequality, that one's new. And as a result, we actually, this is where boudoir photographers actually originally believed that, kind of just automatically believe without even questioning, kind of that every boudoir photographer gets either 0-1 slots on page 1 of Google. But that's how, let's say they're on slot 9, page 1, slot 9 with their website, some market saturation, now they're on page 2, slot 3, and they're kind of like, well, that's simply how it happens. And hopefully those peeps that are now ranking me, delete their website and Google de-indexes them. So maybe Google will pull me back up on page 1. But no, this is a 100% incorrect thought. This is the, let it happen to me thought. We actually want to be, let's make it happen thought, which is what I did. I actually went from 0 out of 10 slots page 1 on Google to 9 out of 10 slots page 1 on Google in only 10 days with this new methodology we invented. And, proving that the false belief of page 1 equality is exactly that, a false belief, because we actually learned Google will give us as many slots on page 1 as we want to put in the effort to acquire. Now, boudoir photographer with BSS is a disappearing boudoir photographer. So again, BSS, boudoir search sameness, 0-1 slots, page 1 Google search. And if we got 0 slots, then we are, basically we're disappearing, we're invisible to approximately 80% of the marketplace. If we got 1 slot on page 1, we're still basically invisible. There's only really only a 10% chance someone's going to convert on us compared to everyone else. So both disappearing boudoir photographers, make us disappear in boudoir photographers. And it's kind of like the warning light, the flashing flag, the whatever, the canary in the coal mine, that our boudoir photography business is now on the path to disappearing as well. But thankfully, we've discovered the solution to this S-cubed methodology. We've discovered that BSS is treated with social search saturation, aka S-cubed methodology. And I mean, it works exactly as the name says. We saturate social search with the highest intent boudoir buyer keywords. So we show up there. And what that acts as is basically like the snow up at the top of the Andes Mountains down in South America, snow on the eastern side, the backside of those Andes Mountains. And what happens is, that snow melts over time. The water flows into small streams, small rivers. But eventually all that melted snow collects down into the Amazon River. And that's page one Google search, the Amazon River. So basically everything, all this social search saturation stuff we do actually then flows onto page one of Google search if we do execute our SQ methodology correctly. And what's interesting about this, it's the only solution for boudoir photographers I've seen that actually allows them to increase the, actually gives them a chance to still grow the business in the face of massive market saturation and gives them that opportunity in a relatively quick time frame. The only other solution I've seen that gives that same benefit is having a large, well-known brand, but we all know that takes like 5 to 10 years to build. And so that doesn't satisfy our relatively quick criteria. We need the relatively quick criteria because, dude, AI's here. AI is taking people's jobs. We don't have 5 to 10 years to build a brand. Ultra market saturation is coming for boudoir photographers. We gotta basically fortify ourselves before that happens. And an example here, actually 2 other things. First interesting thing is SQ methodology. It's just the way it works, allowing us to show up with such a high frequency on so many different surfaces. My estimate is it actually enables a large, well-known brand to be built 8x faster than normal conventional methods. So it's kind of like utilize SQ methodology for initial wins, get a brand in the future, and then imagine if you get a large, well-known brand and you continue to use SQ methodology in the future. I mean, you're basically going to be unbeatable. Now, one example here, we're going to say we are in Minneapolis, Minnesota, Minneapolis-St. Paul, Minnesota, and the Twin Cities. And there's 1 million boudoir photographers there. And with those 1 million boudoir photographers, we are one of them. Everyone's got a boudoir photography website, trying to rank page one on Google. Ultra competition. And as a result, we're like, well, we ain't got no large brand. And we ain't got time to create a brand. So our only shot here to compete is utilizing SQ methodology. And so, dude, let's say we super crank this SQ methodology, and we take the first 300 slots, page one on Google search, or first 300 slots for the highest intent boudoir buyer keywords across social search. And then those flow onto, say allows us to take up the first 300 slots, page one on Google search. And it's 10 organic slots per page on Google. So we're taking out the first 30 pages. So guess what? Anyone in our city is actually, is actually searching anywhere, social search or Google search for boudoir photo shoot, boudoir photographer, whatever, the highest intent boudoir buyer keywords, we're basically the only one they're going to be finding, even though our market's ultra saturated. And so whose business is going to be growing during this time? Most likely ours. And whose business is going to be declining and like dying? Most likely every other, the 999,999 other boudoir photographers in the city. And so, this is kind of a interesting example of what SQ methodology could enable, kind of at the ultra extreme end. But hey, finally, we got a shot here. Now, once you're with SQ methodology, we have page one visibility. And initial benefit, yeah, more slots, page one Google search. That's cool. The other initial benefit, every new slot we get a page one Google search, we're actually kicking a competing boudoir photographer off page one, effectively making them invisible. A lot of boudoir photographers love this one. Basically, can push their competitors to page two and deeper, and effectively making them visible to approximately 80% of searches, invisible to approximately 80% of the market, which, I mean, this is an awesome initial benefit. And page one visibility activates boudoir search visibility for us, BSV. And this is where the GBC universe recommends hitting the 3 out of 10 minimum, 3 out of 10 page one slots on Google search minimum. because basically everyone else going to have one slot. If we got three, we're dominating them. And the ultra rare challenge, someone has two slots on page one. Well, we're going to have three. We're still dominating them. So three, 3 out of 10, and that 3 out of 10 minimum is really the best for all scenarios. Obviously, it's the best to get even higher, but 3 out of 10 is kind of the minimum where we want to get to. And a boudoir photographer with BSV is a visible boudoir photographer, a VBP. So this is our micro universe here. A disappearing boudoir photographer with boudoir search sameness is caused by the dual horns of market saturation and the false belief of page one equality. People thought they simply had to accept having 0 and 1 slots page one on Google. 100% incorrect. We now know that. We developed a solution, S-cubed methodology. We achieve page one visibility. We become visible boudoir photographers with boudoir search visibility. All right, my results now utilizing S-cubed methodology. For myself, I wanted to take over page one on Google for this search term, BLCS boudoir. So I utilize S-cubed methodology to see my results. And let's see, so we got Instagram, organic slot 1, me. Organic slot 2, me. Slot 3, me. Slot 4, me. Slot 5, me. Slot 6, me. Slot 7, me. Slot 8, me. Slot 10, me. So a searcher for this, who are they going with, who are they clicking on? Obviously me. I went from 0 out of 10 slots, page 1 Google search, to 9 out of 10 slots, page 1 Google search, in only 10 days. So these are my results I got utilizing S-cubed methodology. So moving on to our main event here, we're going to check this boudoir photography business, see if it's got BSS for local and city search, even if it's in its GBC recommended minimum, 3 out of 10 page one slots. So let's go. All right, I'm going to Virginia Beach. All right, that's fine. So let's check this out, Virginia Beach. Boom, we got one. And boom, we got two. Okay. All right, so we got 2 out of 10 for local. So we do not have BSS, but we did not hit the GBC recommend minimum of 3 out of 10 slots. Page one on Google. All right, now we're going to go to our city search, Norfolk, Virginia. All right, so let's check this out. So let's see. See if we got any here. No fire, so we're at 0 out of 10. And yeah, city's always harder to rank for than local. So we're at 2 out of 10. Page one, Google for local. So we don't have BSS for local, we do have BSS for city, but for both of them, we did not hit the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 page one slots on Google for either of them. So if you're a disappearing boudoir photographer and you've actually gone and done the local search for the highest intent keywords for your locale, and you're saying and you've also done it for your city, and you've seen that you got at least one of those has BSS, or you see that at least one you are not hitting the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 slots page one on Google, then you're seeing this S-cubed methodology like, yes, this is what I've been waiting for. Maybe you had been thinking, how can we get more slots on page one on Google? So maybe you'd already broken through the false belief of page one equality, but now you're like, yes, S-cubed methodology, that's what I've been looking for. Even though you kind of didn't know what to expect or what it would look like, but you decided, yes, S-cubed methodology is your way to move forward. So you're like, heck yeah. And you're also understanding the initial benefits of it. More slots page one. The two initial benefits: more slots page one on Google, kick in more competing with boudoir photographers off page one, off the page two, effectively making them invisible to approximately 80% of the marketplace. And you understand the two prongs of market saturation. Getting new iPhone or getting new camera, so getting new gear, and you're looking ahead and you're saying, well, you understand AI is going to be taking a ton of people's jobs. So like, okay, that is actually going to be the biggest flood, the biggest force of more boudoir photographers into the marketplace, or people who are even those who are new to boudoir photography, going to compress margins for everyone, lower prices for everyone, going to basically force more competition, page one Google search. And so you're saying, all right, I actually need to not only get this many links on page one, you also need to fortify your position right now in preparation for all the new boudoir photographers coming into the market. after AI starts taking more and more people's jobs every single day. And you're seeing SQ methodology is also a perfect thing for that as well. It's kind of like building the levees in Nolens, Louisiana, where that city is below sea level. And so once that happens, you're like, or once you're basically seeing the future right now. So you're like, the more links, momentum you can build up to get page one links on Google, the higher chance that the new Boudoir photograpers never even reach page one, never even reach the links, um, on Google page one. And so when so you're seeing that, and SQ methodology is the way forward, and you want to increase the you want to achieve page one visibility, become a visible boudoir photographer with boudoir search visibility, because you need those things in order to become #1 boudoir photographer in your city. And you also understand kind of the long-term back-end benefits of successfully executing this SQ methodology every single day. And these successful benefits are, basically you're building up kind of these columns, these mindshare columns of peeps who are, kind of these invisible thematic keyword columns that actually, they're kind of like invisible. They're columns attached to, like, the Parthenon in Athens are kind of like invisible columns, like hubs, hub and spoke model. So like spokes onto a hub. And these things exist kind of like as AI mindshare. So you understand the future benefits, which is actually the more we successfully execute methodology, the higher probability we're going to be sort of appear AI overview on AI search. And so that probability kind of builds and builds and builds every single day that we do successfully execute methodology. And also the same goes for backend search. Like AI search, like ChatGPT search, like we got Perplexity, Claude, we got Microsoft Copilot search, Google Gemini search, and you're seeing other feature benefits as we're successfully executing SQ methodology actually increase the probability we get a list on AI search for all those as well. So I know last time I searched for boudoir photographers in a city, ChatGPT, it literally recommended 3. And I actually went to go on Google for myself to look at, okay, how many are actually going to be, are actually out here. Dude, there's like 60, like Google Maps and Google Search all combined. And so I was like, all right, we got to do something to really increase the probability that we're increasing search here, that we get on these, because I know I don't standard Google search anything. I'm always using the Google AI overview. And so I know, yeah, standard Google search is still like approximately 90% of all searches, all the search market globally. But dude, AI search getting bigger and bigger every day. So you're seeing that, and you want to actually get kind of those bonuses, those momentum of being shown in these, increase the probability get shown in these searches. And as a result, you also understand that you decide to hop on this first because you'll be actually be able to build a ton of momentum and separate yourself from all your competitors. Because I basically my plan currently is to only work with one boudoir photographer in each city. So you're seeing you can kind of close off your competitors from using this and put a massive gap between you and them before they even know what's going on, before they even know we've put in the effort to completely dominate page one Google search. And conversely, you're seeing that, oh man, if one of your competitors actually, if one of your competitors actually hops on this first and works with me, well then you'd have to rederive SQ methodology on your own correctly. And when you do that, you would never be 100% confident if you did it, derived it correct or not. And what would actually happen is you have to equal our execution. And when you equal our execution, you would simply be maintaining the gap me and your competitor would have already built up, kind of above you or ahead of you. So you'd maintain that gap. You'd actually have to double or triple our daily output of execution of SQ methodology to close that gap, kind of pull that AI mindshare brain momentum for those invisible thematic keyword columns away from your competitor and me and back towards yourself. And so it's like, dude, who's got the 80 hours in a day to do all that? So you decide, screw that. You're going to be the #1 first mover in your city. Lock the other peeps out. And so if that's you, shoot me a DM. My hospital is currently closed for new patient intake right now. So my DMs are currently closed. But when I do open up the hospital for new patient intake, then shoot me a DM and we'll see if you qualify to utilize our S cubed methodology.